Welcome back to the Admin Group, guys. I am your host, Jay the Admin, aka Juniper J, aka the Switch Whisperer, aka Catch Me on Layer 2 Hidden Switches. And today is another day, man. I'm so glad to be back with you guys once again. I'm ready to have this discussion about job loyalty. Job loyalty in IT. It is a little different than your average department where, guys are staying there for 50 years, for 20 years. IT's a little different, and just how we have to learn and how technology changes and things being implemented for businesses. Cybersecurity is a big thing now. So in terms of sticking to a company, how long should you stay? Now, I first came into this topic where I was browsing the Reddits and I found this article that talks about, it's an article from Forbes that talks about employees who stay at a company longer than 2 years, they are actually getting paid 50% less. Now, to get into the details of the article, it is really factoring in inflation into your raises. So in the article, they quoted the average 3% raise. Actually, myself, the last job I had, they were giving me a 3% raise. And I specifically remember thinking to myself, oh no. They are playing with my time and money. So that is how I ultimately ended up at a new company. So let me make sure this is all okay. We're good. So I from there went on my job search, and I found a job where I ended up making 25% more. 25, actually over 25%, because I was making 40. I got hired at 45, so more like 30, a little over 30% raise. A 30% raise. Like when you think about your job, where you are right now, to think that your job feels as if your hard work should be rewarded by 3% more money. In the case of $40,000, that's about $1,200. Is that 12? No. It's 120. Even sadder. It's 120. So when you're thinking about that, you really have to think about, all right, is that my worth? Have I learned any new skills? Am I trying to learn new skills? Do I have a certain work ethic that I know my peers don't have, that I know the rest of the people at my job don't have? And it should be worth a lot more to know that you can go to a different company and make 10, 20, 30% more money. That really has to open your eyes. When you're thinking about this company and your loyalty to them, when you're thinking about the extra hours, if your salary, the extra hours where your friends are off from work, where your spouse is out from work, when your kids are out from school and you are still at the office, or you're at home and you're taking calls, or you're on Teams meetings, you really have to think about your worth in those moments, because the truth is the business wants to continue to make money. So they will pay you so that they continue to make money. They're not gonna break you off. They're just gonna, give you something. Honestly, they give you something to account for inflation, which was also brought up in the article. They figure inflation to be around 2%. So 2% minus your 3%, now you have a 1% raise. 1%. 1%. That is sad. That is sad, man. That is sad. I know I don't want to sound like the what is it, the socialist guy who's saying that everybody deserves a livable wage, everybody deserves to be a billionaire. That is absolutely not where I'm coming from. I am coming from the perspective of the person who works hard, from the person who sacrifices their weekends, sacrifices their spare time. They're doing things for their job after they leave their job. So it's a lot more than just an 8-hour day. It may be a 16-hour day. It may be less than that because you couldn't even sleep. For those people who count on the raises and seeing favor from their jobs and seeing the fruit of the hard work that they put in directly from a raise, and to think about them not getting it, or to think about them being shortchanged. Sure, if you work at an investment firm or a hedge fund and they're giving you $20,000 bonuses or $10,000 bonuses or whatever, if you're in a situation like that, then yeah, this isn't for you. You should probably stay there for 20 years. But for the people who are working at these regular businesses, you really have to understand, wow, okay, another company values my skill a lot more than the company that I'm at. Why would I stay at the company I'm at? So this is where we get into the loyalty of it. Why would you stay? The people you work with are your friends, maybe. The job you're at is close to where you live. It's comfortable. You've gotten the network, or you've gotten the job role to a place where you dreamed, or you wanted it to get to when you first started. Excuse me. And you just want to stay dedicated to that project or to that network or to that company. Sure, those are all very honorable things, but you have to weigh the honor and the money. You can't say just the smiling faces at this job, the way that these people thank me after I fix their computer, it is all the fulfillment I need. I have enough to pay my bills. I have enough to eat. And I mean, if that is all you need, if that is all you want, then absolutely, life isn't just about money. One thing that my grandma said to me before she passed, God rest her soul, was everything isn't about money. I grew up very modest. My mom was hardworking. I watched her go into work day in and day out. There was no, I don't feel like working. She's working every day. I seen that with my own eyes. So now that I'm an adult and I'm in that role, I'm feeling what that feels like, to be so dedicated to a job to where it hurts. Like you can't, you're so trained to where you can't even think about separating from this job, even if it means more money or more freedom or less stress, because you've been here for so long, because you've grinded it out, because you've been there in tough times, because you've been there in the trenches with your coworkers. They're people who you have emotional bonds with, who you want to remain in their lives, but you have to weigh that against your money, your family, your time, your happiness. It's not about the company's happiness. Your coworkers aren't the company. The company can fire you and your coworkers, and there will be a new set of people there who will do the job, and they may go through the same cycle. But you can't feel as if you are bigger than the company. It may be shareholders at the other end. It may be a CEO at the other end who absolutely makes the last decision, who is looking at you as an expense line on the balance sheet. You are just another expense to this asset to making money. So you have to understand that in your life, and you have to say, okay, I'll take the money. So that is what the article was explaining. They were saying that on average, when somebody does jump to another job, they can see at least a 10% raise. And I mean, I can tell you that is true. That is true. Sadly, some companies just don't value certain positions the way another company would. But that brings in my IT department growth theory. So I know that's a long name and it doesn't roll off the tongue, but this is my IT department growth theory. Now, if you work in an IT department, depending on the company you're at, you have your desktop support guys, you have your tier 2, which may be tier 2 help desk. And this is in the case of a big company. And then above that, you have your systems administrator who does the networking. They do the security audits. They implement the security. They manage the servers. They do it all. And sometimes that role may be split into two. You may have a database manager or a database admin who does specifically database management at that company. They handle the SQL servers. They make sure SQL is running properly. They create accounts. They ensure things are connected to where they need to be connected to. I'm not a database administrator, so that's the best way I can explain it. The connectors are connecting, and that is the structure. You have those 4 tiers, possibly. It could just be 3. In a lot of IT departments, it was the desktop support guys and then the systems administrator. So there's only one level to go up. And then once you're at that level, there's nowhere to go. And at that one level, there's probably only one person. So if you're thinking about your personal growth, let's say you're on this help desk for 5 years. You know the issues, you understand mission critical applications, the applications that cannot stop working, that cannot go down. You understand the ins and outs of the IT department for this company. Unless the systems administrator quits, or unless they branch off and have another office, unless they grow their network and improve the security, or they implement a new system, Mitel VoIP versus Cisco VoIP, those will be the only real opportunities for you to really grow. And I say that kind of two-sided, because you can grow in terms of learning that new system, but if they're generous, you could also grow into a new position where there is new responsibility and you're getting paid for that new responsibility. In most cases, that's not how it works in IT. And to bring it back to my IT department growth theory, I think that is because the IT department is a lot like the facilities department, or maintenance, or janitorial department. This is something that's necessary for the business. It helps the business. It helps the business continue to run. It is just a necessary expense, and there's no way to really get around that. But the way the business sees expenses is we will pay for an expense, but the closer it is to zero, the happier we are. So to bring in another guy, or to promote a guy to a role where now he's making $10,000 more or $20,000 more, and we also have to hire another guy to replace him. So in total, because we bought this new $100,000 system, we have to pay $60,000 to promote a guy, to hire a new guy in his place, and all this is going to do is consistently increase our expenses for the years to come. So, with that bottleneck, you have to understand that a company's IT budget may be $100,000, and your 40,000 of that or 35,000 of that does not it is not slated to change. It is not something that they want to increase. They want to keep that at 100,000 and reduce it if possible. So, with that being said, if your systems administrator does not leave, if your company does not want to increase their IT expenses or their IT budget, you have no choice but to move to another company. There's no way the IT department is just magically going to start making money to where it makes sense to pay you more money. You're not a salesman to where you can say, hey, I've brought in X amount of dollars. I would like a 1% raise based on that. I would like a commission check based on that. That's not how it works for us. We're providing a service that's not always transparent. And to be honest, when we're not getting calls, when things aren't breaking, that's when we're doing our job. That means that we have been doing our job. So the C-level guys, the finance, well, guys or gals, the finance people, they're not going to see that. There's no way to quantify that. There's no way to quantify the worth. So you have to go to another company at that point. That's just what you got to do. There's no other option if you're looking at this from the standpoint of money. So when you're leaving a company, do not feel bad. Do not feel bad. Again, this is the IT department growth theory, not the marketing department growth theory, not the accounting department growth theory, IT department growth theory. In IT, we're constantly learning. There's new technologies out there. If you get a certification now, almost every certification involves some level of Python programming to do what it is you need to do. It's literally in everything. But many older networks do not utilize APIs or have any level of automation to where you would include Python scripting. So if you are learning these things, you're getting these certifications to where you're learning them, but you're never able to apply them, you have this knowledge that is untapped. You have this knowledge that is not being utilized. So that is value. That is like value in a house. That is equity that is depreciating if you stay in this situation. But if you move to another job where they can leverage that equity, or you can leverage that equity because this is a skill they need, now all of a sudden you're immensely more valuable. And that really depends on the company and what they're working with. That really depends on you and your hard work and the things that you're learning. And only you and other IT people can understand that. Really wrap that around your mind. Just a quick story. One company that I left that I was at for a little over 2 years, when I put in my 2-week notice, it got around the company very quickly. And people would come to me and say, hey, why are you leaving? What happened? Did somebody say something to you? Like, did you get into it with somebody? Excuse me. And every time I would always say, it's just a better opportunity, and to think that it would be adversity that pushed me out of the position versus a better opportunity. That means that, to me, it means to me that other departments don't grow in that same way. Other departments, they are based on loyalty and seniority, and that is how you get ahead. I think the corporate ladder also factors in time. It's like compound interest. Like the the standard the standard corporate ladder from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, yeah, this is some 90s, 80s mentality. I think back then, because things moved slowly, because things didn't evolve the way that they do now, people weren't utilizing the internet for information the way that they are now. I think because that was the case, people who are older, they have that mindset of, why would you leave this company? They have your 401k invested. They have benefits that are paying for your 6 kids braces or whatever. And in IT, and just even in today's day and age, people aren't having 6 kids at 19, so you don't have to have the best health insurance. You don't have to have that insurance package for your family. You're not depending on this. And you also know that I'm investing in myself. You understand the worth of investing in yourself. You understand that this is something that you have to do, and not everybody does that. Some people, they graduate with a certain expertise, they utilize that expertise at a company, and that expertise does not grow, it does not get better, it does not change. And honestly, if you don't change, you're getting worse. So you're getting worse over 10 years, and the old corporate ladder model somehow compounds your salary, and at the end of 10 years, you're making 50% more, which is great. Depending on where you started, making $150,000 at the end of the year, or at the end of 10 years in your career, that's good. I mean, that's a lot of money. So I think for different roles and for different people and for different ways of life, I think job loyalty means something different. But in the IT department specifically, where things are fast changing, there are a lot of technologies out there that not only are useful to the companies, but engineers like certain systems. Engineers, like, you may like Python. You may want to be DevOps. You may not just want to be a regular old systems administrator. And, you have to implement these different softwares and these different systems in ways that are free. Like, if you work for a network where they're not interested in spending as much money on the infrastructure, you will find yourself using a lot of open source tools, a lot of free tools, and you always have to think about the next person to take over your network or the network that you've worked on. You don't want it to be too complex to where they'll never hire somebody who can take it over, or the next person is going to have to be paid what you want to be paid. You could, but ultimately you have to understand that your network needs simplicity for the next person, but in the same breath, you always want to continue growing. You always want to get better and better. And, if this is something that you can do while you're working, it will help you when you jump to the next job. So, in terms of job loyalty, do not feel bad. In my opinion, as an IT guy, other departments do not work as hard as we do. They do not deal with the same complaints, the same time constraints, the same demandingness, and the same attitudes that other people deal with. So when it is your time to go, cut the cable and go. Do not feel bad. Do not wonder why. No. hit them up on the weekend, spend some time to go to the bar on your last day, whatever it is you got to do, but get out of there. If you see that you're undervalued, get out of there. Do not look around. Do not ask if it's okay. Do not ask for opinions, because those opinions are going to be fueled from themselves. They will be from their perspective. Would you leave the company? But if they don't feel that they're undervalued, they're going to say no. They're going to say, oh, this is the easiest job ever. What do you mean? We just sit down. We just relax. No, why would you want to leave? No, that may not be you, so don't let it be you, because that type of groupthink can permeate your mind, and now you're thinking just as everybody else. And it takes a different mindset to make a different kind of money, a different level of money, for sure. So, next, don't count on a raise. Don't count on that raise. Like I told you, the job that I had, they gave me a 3% raise. That was my last raise. The article also cited 3% raises. If inflation is 2%, you are getting a 1% raise. So for $40,000, you're making $400. Yeah, $400. $400 for 1%. So 3% is $1,200. So yeah, 1% raise is an extra $400. Now, $400 in your hand, sure, significant amount of money. You can pay some bills. You can do some things with that $400. $400 across 52 weeks, across 12 months. That's not worth it. That's not worth it. That's not worth it. Your stress, the increased responsibilities that you've gotten cannot be worth $400 across 12 months, and included in your salary. Like, that is just not a significant bump. Yes, that doesn't change your life. That doesn't progress your life. That cannot allow you to, well, if you're really frugal, that can allow you to branch off and do other things and invest in other things. But ultimately, if that is your goal and you are financially driven in that way, you have to understand opportunity cost and where your bigger opportunities lie and where you can make more money to then be more prosperous. At the end of the day, that is all we want. I do not know a person who goes to work specifically to gain friends or specifically to be around people. If you're going to dedicate 8 hours of your day, a third of your life, another third, your sleep. So you have the 8 hours to your family, to your friends, to yourself, and even that can get ate into once you're talking about somebody who works a salary or somebody who is on call. A lot of IT guys are on call. I'm on call. Honestly, if my phone starts ringing, if I start seeing that Teams icon or somebody from any of the companies that we're hired by, if they call me right now, video stops. I'm working on whatever whatever they have going on, whatever the issue is. And right now I feel as if I'm adequately valued, kinda. So, so it isn't as big of an issue for me at this point in time in my life, but I don't see that being the same, forever, just thinking about always needing your phone, always needing to have your phone by you. I mean, having it tied to you like a ball and chain, I'm not going to say it sucks, because I'm very fortunate for the situation that I'm in, but I do have to understand that the company I've worked for has bought that that they've bought that space in my mind where I'm always conscious of, okay, if I see the team's icon start ringing, or if I hear that team's ringing, I know, all right, this is work related. I got to pick it up. I got to see what's going on. But if you feel like what you're getting compensated is not worth that, absolutely go. Absolutely go. Being on call is not great. It's not a great feeling. So don't let anybody play with your time or your money. And lastly, the perception. The perception of leaving a company after 2 years or even after 1 year. When I was working on my resume in high school, I went, first and foremost, I went to a school that prepared us for our futures, and we did mock interviews. We worked on resumes like my entire senior year, and it was really just about preparing people for the real world. And they were always saying that you should have a shorter resume. Your resume shouldn't be 3 pages. Keep it concise. And in terms of your job experience, you want to have at least a year, or you don't want to have a lot of different jobs because it shows that you may have commitment issues with the job. Now, again, in the IT industry, I do not think that this is the case. I've found that it's really just about the knowledge. It's just about the knowledge. There are a lot of engineers out there, and if you work for a company that really values their IT, I know a lot of companies who deal with financial information, a lot of companies who have to who have to adhere to specific cybersecurity guidelines. If they have cybersecurity insurance, where they need certain systems implemented, multi-factor authentication, VLANs for PCI, HIPAA compliance. All of these companies that deal with these compliances, they understand that they have to spend the money on their IT department. So this is starting to pull back my IT department growth theory, where it's just an inevitable. You have to have these technologies implemented if you want certain deals, if you want to be in a certain industry. So things are starting to change in some areas, but ultimately you shouldn't feel tied to one company or to a company that gave you a good opportunity. You really shouldn't. You really shouldn't. As long as you are delivering good work for them, you're doing the things that you said that you would do, you're a good employee, you're great to be around. They blessed you with with insurance, with a salary, with a safe place to work, with a work computer. They blessed you in that way, and you blessed them in providing a service. And as long as you provided that service to the best of your ability, you have done what it is they've asked you to do. You've held up your end of the obligation. So do not feel that you owe them anything past that. Once all of the obligations are taken care of, you're not contractually obligated to stay for any particular reason. There are no non-competes for the next company you're trying to go to. As long as all of that is squared away, I think you're fine to just leave, part ways, and grow. It happens. It happens. And people may not realize, but in IT, it happens a lot more often than any other industry or any other department. So that is just something that they have to get used to. They're gonna have to accept, and in all honesty, if they don't accept it, if they don't get it, oh well. Move on, move on, move on. References play a big role. Leaving a company on good terms is also very good in professional practice, but will it make or break you? No, 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 no. It is about the bottom dollar. It's all about the dollar in this world, in America. If you're in America and you're dealing with this capitalist society, you should not get your emotions tied up into it because your employer is not. And you have to understand that the people who, like the people who are asking me, why am I leaving? It wasn't the people who were directly above me. Of course, my boss wanted to know my reasoning and to see if anything was going on. But once I told her, it was about me growing in my career and about me learning new things and me certifying my own knowledge that I can't exactly use in this environment or in the role that I'm in. I'm not compensated for it, and these aren't responsibilities that I have. I have other responsibilities. Me telling them and being transparent about it, the ones who understand career growth and who understand just being young and trying to be successful, they understood. But then it was when I was talking to the people who were adjacent to me or below, in terms of the organizational chart below me, those were the people who were saying, why would you leave? The same people who complain about their job. And that was one thing I never wanted to do. I do not want to be the guy who complains about the 3% raise and then just stays at the job. I don't want to be the guy who says, man, I'm one of these days I'm going to get on Indeed. One of these days I'm going to get on LinkedIn and find me another job because this just isn't working out. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. And the next time you're at your job, especially if you're thinking about leaving, think about that sentiment. Man, I wish I was somewhere else. Man, I wish I had a different job. Oh, the boss is this, the boss is that. Just think about how long that person has been at that company. Whether that's you, whether that's a coworker, whether that's somebody you work with. Just think about how long that person has been with the company and how much they complain about the company. Because usually it's the ones who've been there the longest who are complaining the most and have no plan of action to change what they hate the most. I mean, you can improve a job and still stay there. You can also improve your life and not deal with whatever stresses you're complaining about every day and leave that job. For some reason, leaving a job that you're vocally complaining about and you're saying that you hate isn't the normal reaction. Most people do this and just complain. But don't be a complainer. In the admin group, we're hard workers. We are educated. We educate ourselves. We are go-getters. And I can't support somebody just complaining about their job and staying at their job. If a 3% raise is okay with you, by all means, keep that 3% raise. High five your coworkers. Hang out with them in the office when your shift's done. Do whatever it is you want to do. Life is about happiness, but at the same time, here in America, in this capitalist society, we need money, and I'm all about getting that money. So if that's what you want to do, listen to those tips that I gave you. And if you know somebody else who complains about their job or somebody who's in IT and they're struggling with leaving the company that they're with, show them this video, show them this podcast, and let them know that it is okay. It is normal for the IT industry, and Jay the Admin understands. Jay the Admin supports you. leave your job if it makes sense. If that's what you want to do, if you're inclined, if there's anything you don't like, of course, put forth the effort. But if you see where that effort is futile, is just not enough, go ahead and jump ship. Because according to Forbes, it's what you should do anyway. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you on the next podcast. See ya.